Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. Happy to come to you today with another episode of Crypto Happy Hour. Give it a second here to let everybody join in. Hope you're having a good one so far. Would love to hear from you if you are in the chat. Sweet. What's going on, Nitro Bro, RC Phantom, Sherry, Morel, Life Size Box? Hope you guys are having a good one. RC Phantom has his Miller Lite. I've been on a Miller High Life kick recently. Actually, a decent fan of that. But today I have it's Dark Helmet from Westbrook Brewing Co. in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. So shout out to anybody in South Carolina. Hope you guys are having a good one. And today, as far as things go, the market had a nice little bit of a rebound, bounced, or not really bounced, picked up some steam this morning around 7 a.m. Bitcoin did Eastern time, had a big green candle from 3,200 all the way up to close to 3,400, and then again from around 3,400 all the way up to 3,550 or so. This is on Dydx, but hit resistance at 3,600. We've seen a little bit of a pullback, and a lot of the other cryptos out there have kind of followed a similar path. But as things stand today, pretty much everything is in the green. Bitcoin up about 9%. Shout out to XRP, the standard, up close to 15%. ETH up 12%. EOS is up 24%. Stellar Lumen's up 14%. So basically everything in the top, let's see, everything, at least on Chain FX, everything in the top 50 is in the green. 10x is down 5%, but outside of that, everything else is in the green. Be helpful if I could actually hit my mouth when I drink beer. So, but this is actually, from what got in my mouth, pretty damn good beer. So happy about that. So wanted to really come in today, talk about a couple different things. Talk about a couple different things with you guys, shoot the shit a little bit. One thing was the blockchain transparency report for December. This was from blockchaintransparency.org, talks a lot about fake volumes, so we will get into that. Shout out to Mike Dudis and the block team for disseminating that information a little bit more. Also want to talk, so a few days ago, and this went pretty viral on Twitter, but a few days ago, I thought this was kind of funny, but I just generally want to provide some of my commentary on it. So Substratum or Substratum, however you pronounce it, the founder did a little bit of like an AMA YouTube video where he talked about the future of the Substratum network, a token swap that they're doing. And one thing that they ended up saying was, hey, we cashed out some of our Ethereum to basically pay for bills, which was good. I think they said they did that at like 200 plus, and apparently they did that over $1,000 as well. But one of the other things they said is they are now essentially day trading funds with a trader. I don't know who that trader might be, apparently an internal employee. But this is not the type of thing that you necessarily want to see. And they were also talking about he was talking about their models, saying, ETH is going down to $60, so indicating they were short Ethereum or short ETH, and then ETH subsequently popped back up above 90. So as far as that goes, I'm not an advocate for crypto projects taking funds that they raise through an ICO and day trading with those, or just trading with those. You absolutely, there's certainly something to be said about cashing out, going through the process of basically paying bills, paying employee salaries, whatever it might be. But to day trade funds to increase your stack seems a little suspect to me, and something that I think is probably not the best sign. Seems like everybody else on the planet agrees, minus maybe sub bag holders. But everybody was pretty critical of this. As you could see, this tweet itself from Brian Lee has 109 retweets, 350 likes, and a lot of other people kind of disseminated information like that. And shout out to Venture Coinist too. So shout out to Luke Martin. I think this wins tweet of the day where we got it. So BitMEX wrecked, liquidated short of Ethereum by 7.5 mil at 88.4. Substratum, is that you? I thought that was the tweet of the day. So shout out to Shout out to Luke for that one. Chris, am I buying Kin, bro? What are your thoughts on Kin? I do not have a Kin holding at this point in time. Wasn't necessarily one of the ones that I was interested in at all. Just kind of never really in my wheelhouse, but I appreciate the super chat and the beer money, even though this beer was, for whatever reason, $4 because it's not Miller Coors. So when skiing this weekend, had an allergy attack, so my nose has been, I'm sneezing throughout half this YouTube live. That wouldn't be ideal, but I've been doing that all day. So popping back over to On-Chain FX and taking a look at some of these questions here. Am I going to Pomp's party at the 40/40 on Wednesday? I do not know at this point in time. Most likely not, but did get an invite to that. So, and I am based in New York, so maybe I might try to go to that. But at this point in time, no, probably not. So December 2018, Blockchain Transparency Institute came out. And again, guys, ask all the questions you want. Happy to respond to as many as possible. If there's anything that is an absolute must-have, throw it in a super chat and I definitely will get to it. Outside of Margie, what's up, homie? Did I replace my Honda Civic? No, drive a Jeep Grand Cherokee. You know that. I know that. Drive American. Chris, you're the man. But so this came out and this was pretty interesting. Goes into primarily web traffic as well as some certain data that this organization collects from mobile app usage, API trading, and looking at a deep dive here. And they looked at BTC pairs specifically on CoinMarketCap. And one of the things that they looked at was the what they consider to be real volume or wash trading. And I think, in my personal opinion, wash trading and like just real volume in crypto, especially now, is pretty damn scarce, especially when you get outside of like the legitimate exchanges. There are a lot of exchanges on CoinMarketCap when you look at them and you're like, who is this exchange and how are they doing like $1 billion in volume a day? How are they doing a couple $100 million in volume a day? I've never heard of them once. I've never seen anybody use them once. It's probably because half the volume is not real. And when you look at that, the top 25 BTC pairs on CoinMarketCap right now, or according to what blockchaintransparency.org said, percentage of real volume for some of these: Coinbene 1%, OKX, which a lot of people point to, and OKX has been doing a ton of delistings recently. And I was asked about those OKX delistings, and I'm like, who cares? OKX is a ghost town because nobody actually uses it. And yeah, 11% of the volume on OKX is perceived to be real volume. So when people talk about delistings on OKX, it's like, literally, who cares? But in addition to that, some of the other ones to take a look at: Huobi has a low percentage of quote-unquote real volume at 26%. HitBTC, more affectionately known as ShitBTC, has about 25% real volume. And some of the other random ones that you probably haven't heard much of: Fcoin, Dydx. Like I've never heard anybody using half of these, but they still do tens of millions of dollars in volume a day. But do they actually? No, they don't. So this is something that's pretty interesting, and you can see it across the board in many different. You can see it across the board in many different things, and I'll probably do a whole deep dive on this, do a recorded video on this as well, because I think it's worth the conversation. But one of the big reasons that coins or companies, exchanges do this is because once you can get a little bit of wash trading in the door, volume somewhat begets volume. So when somebody looks at, maybe you go to CoinMarketCap and you're like, oh, where do I trade Bitcoin? Or where do I trade this other cryptocurrency? And you see this random exchange at the top of the list, like, oh, it's doing a ton of volume. It must be super liquid. I'm going to go over there right now. And I can go over there and maybe make an account and go trade. Turns out that that's just kind of a marketing technique for users. It does work. And then on the other end of the spectrum for projects, listing fees. So when you're a project and you're like, oh wow, OKX is doing a ton of volume. They're doing $182 million in 24-hour volume a day on BTC to USDT. They're doing a bunch of volume in all these other pairs. Well, companies, and this is I don't know if OKX actually takes listing fees or not, but hey, maybe they're paying, that helps them to, we do X amount of volume per day, so we can charge X amount more than the other exchanges for a listing fee. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. So you can even see it too when it's funny if you look at some of the order books. So like I've talked about this a little bit before, but you look at some of the order books. So Dai, some of you guys know in that one video I made, I talked about Dai specifically in my portfolio too. But having Dai is like the stable coin that I use. The liquidity is a little bit lower in some cases, but I do like Dai a lot. And when you go to it, so like right now, this is really interesting because we pop over KuCoin recently added Dai to their website. If we go to, let's see, the blog promotions, KuCoin Dai. So this is kind of what some of these websites do, which is pretty interesting as well. Maybe some of you guys notice it, maybe you don't, but KuCoin started off and they listed Dai. I think it was a week 10 or so days ago, and they start off with this trading competition. And basically what it encourages in many respects is kind of wash trading. So if you go down here, you look at the Dai trading competition, you can see that they're giving away 82 maker tokens, which is kind of the governance token that is used for the Dai network. But basically, the person that has the highest volume on the buys and sells of Dai will win some portion of those maker tokens that are valued at a couple $100 a pop. And then they split a pool from the top 5 traders all the way down to the top 200 traders, the people that are putting in the most volume. And KuCoin went from having no volume whatsoever in Dai to having, let's see here, the basically top 4 of the top 5 trading pairs on Dai are now dominated by KuCoin. But if you go over to the order book, it's basically a ghost town. The order book, you can look at the bid-ask spread. It's a joke. The bid is $87 for Ethereum right now, and the ask is $93 or 93 Dai. But so that's for one Ethereum. The last price was 87, but the bid-ask spread is massive. And if you pull up the chart, the 5-minute chart is like just an ugly, atrocious mess of like basically zero liquidity. So, how are you trading $3 million a day with like that level of liquidity? It's kind of suspect, and I think that's how a lot of these exchanges are able to really kind of promote some of these new pairs and get a lot of volume. But you see how well it works, because now if somebody wants to go buy Dai, look where they go. They go on CoinMarketCap and they see, oh wow, the market's KuCoin has all the liquidity. Let's pop over there. They just did this trading competition. Even though they have the worst price, they have a $1.09, $1.14, so the pricing is really crappy. But yeah, I'm going to check that out and go for it. So definitely something to take into consideration. I have my GPUs, Red Fox Crypto, sitting in my living room right now. I haven't gotten it set up yet. If you guys have any questions, start shooting them away. Let's check out Morel. Let's check out Wasabi and Samurai Wallet. So this is something that I haven't used yet. I've seen a couple of my favorite Bitcoin maximalists out there talking about this. So Wasabi Wallet, I believe, it's a Bitcoin wallet that does some type of kind of privacy enabled sending. So I think they commingle a bunch of transactions together so that when you do send your crypto, it's kind of taken amongst a bunch of other people's Bitcoin, and then it mixes it all, jumbles it all together so that you can't see where it's going. That's a very high level bad explanation, most likely. But long story short, so it's they use CoinJoin, I believe is what it's called, to help increase the privacy and the anonymity of Bitcoin, which, as we know, is, while it's pseudonymous, it is not anonymous by any stretch, especially when you have companies out there like Chainalysis. And this is something that I have not gotten a chance to use yet, but definitely something that if you are holding Bitcoin or interested in Bitcoin, it is worth checking out. I believe it's a rather newer tool, so perhaps I wouldn't trust this with your life savings. But if you're interested in playing around with the privacy components of Bitcoin and what Wasabi Wallet might be able to provide. Definitely worth a look. Unknown name, haven't watched you live in maybe 1 year. Well, welcome back, brother. Welcome back. You know, a year ago we're at like $19,000 Bitcoin. Now we're at whatever, through 3,400. So cheers. Very good explanation, Morel. Appreciate that. Samurai cuts the transactions into different pieces. By using the two wallets is probably the best way to obfuscate your transactions. So yeah, that's great. So a couple different people talking about there's still room to go lower. Yeah, I think so. I don't think, you know, today's boost was definitely something that was a nice welcome relief, I would say. But by no means do I think we are out of the woodwork at all when it comes to the bear market. I think especially when you look at Twitter, like Bitcoin goes up 5% and everybody's saying, you know, hashtag bull market, alt season, like stupid crap like that. I don't think that's the case. I think, you know, we obviously need to see a lot more. But the tendency with Twitter and the tendency with YouTube and all these other, you know, sites like that is everybody wants to be the first one to call the bull market. So every time Bitcoin goes up 5%, people are rushing to say, hey, you know, this is the bull market, you know, buy in now. And then Bitcoin proceeds to dip another 25%. And that's happened basically all the way down from $19,000. There are a number of people on Twitter that every time, you know, Bitcoin does anything, they're trying to basically just establish a name and make a call. It gets old after a while, and I think, you know, just because of that, I don't necessarily think we're out of the woodwork with Bitcoin. I don't think we're out of the woodwork with a lot of these tokens. There's certainly some bullish factors in the mix. There's also a lot of things like I think SEC regulation is going to continue to hammer down on token sales. That'll have potentially questionable impact on Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. Bitcoin, I think, while isn't necessarily affected whatsoever, Bitcoin, I think, is on fantastic regulatory ground. I don't think has anything to worry about in the long run. I do think that just Bitcoin benefits, whether or not and I'm as big of a fan of Bitcoin as anybody, but I think whether or not Bitcoin maximalists want to admit that Bitcoin does still benefit from this speculation of altcoins, I think that is an absolute truth. Like Bitcoin, people speculate on altcoins in some cases to buy more Bitcoin. I think there's also buy pressure when people, you know, get into the ecosystem through Bitcoin and then perhaps move that into other cryptocurrencies as well. What are you seeing in the equities markets, Raven Moore? I mean, I certainly don't pay as much attention to the equities markets as I do the crypto markets. I am not a traditional Wall Street. I do not have a traditional finance background. I'm not going to pretend like I have a traditional finance background. I actually got extremely lucky just in the past like 3 months. I have a bunch of 401k and retirement savings just from the past number of years working, and I switched all my retirement savings from my previous 401k provider and IRA providers to the new bank that I'm banking with, and I didn't realize it was tax-free, but I'm moving that all to just one consolidated IRA. And it turns out when I moved all the stuff from my 401ks, my other IRAs, it actually just put them in cash and is sitting waiting for that to go into the IRA. I haven't actually signed the papers to deploy that capital into a specific fund that they're earmarking for it. So it's been sitting in cash while the market is going down. So I've actually been maintaining my just retirement savings just through dumb luck, which was awesome. This was like perfectly timed the top of the equities market for now. And yeah, a lot of people are saying, hey, a lot of people think equities are going to tank pretty hard. But with that being said, too, the big question is cryptocurrency and is Bitcoin, are they related? How are they correlated to the equities markets? Are they, is there a potential inverse correlation if the equity, if the trust goes down in the equities market, is money going to flood into Bitcoin? Or alternatively, are people going to be looking at the fact that, hey, I'm losing money in the equities markets right now? Am I actually going to put money into a speculative crypto asset? Or am I just going to take money off the sidelines, leave it in cash, or some type of safer investment that has the potential to retain value in a lot better of a fashion? And I would tend to think that that's the latter. I don't necessarily think that people are going to, if the equities markets, they're not doing great. They did not do well today, but I personally don't think that if the equities markets have a long-term bear market, that people are going to look at Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies and say, hey, this crazy speculative asset that may or may not have some degree of manipulation and has a number of technical risks. This is going to be the safe haven. I don't think that is going to be the case. I'd love for it to be the case, but I just don't see that happening. What's up, Tyler? Happy Monday, man. Ved Mishra, is Bitcoin ETF going to get approved in February 2019 with the way the SEC has responded so far? I believe no. Thoughts? I would echo that sentiment. I do not think that we will see a Bitcoin ETF approved in February 2019. I think it's been interesting to see the SEC commissioner Clayton come out. He spoke at Consensus Invest, which was in New York. I didn't go to the conference. I went to a happy hour afterwards. I'm based in New York, but he had some commentary around the ETF. He was asked that question. He did not he did not say it was never going to happen, which was somewhat refreshing to hear. But he did say that two of the big issues are data transparency and market manipulation. And there are certain exchanges that do not have a terribly high degree of data transparency that control a large amount of the markets. I would think that the SEC probably does not love the fact that BitMEX and Bitfinex exist. Bitfinex and the Tether relationship, as well as BitMEX having a massive, I know it's XBT and not really BTC, but XBT. And I think that BitMEX and Bitfinex, just as far as data transparency, and then you have market manipulation. It's rather easy, I think, for a large player to manipulate the Bitcoin markets as a whole. I think those will be issues that if and when, but I think it's going to be when the SEC shoots down the ETF, that they will point to not maybe specifically these specific exchanges, but I think that they will point to market manipulation and blame that as a reason that they declined to approve the ETF. What's up from Berlin, man? What's going on? I have no fiat left. Can I send you a barrel of oil? If you got a barrel of oil, I'll take it. Hell, why not? There's not like an oil coin or something out there. You got to be able to use that now. Keep shooting away on these questions. And again, too, so I picked this up, but this is actually a pretty good beer. Shout out to, again, anybody from South Carolina, specifically Mount Pleasant, but Westbrook Brewing Co. Black Lager. I'm a fan of porters and stouts. This is kind of a portery beer. It's pretty good. Definitely enjoyable. Would recommend. $4,000 or $3,000 Bitcoin first. I have no clue. I really don't. Not gonna sit here and say I mean, the range we're at right now, I'm not really playing. Depending upon which way it goes, I'm not really playing it one way or another. Like if it goes, so the only thing that I'm doing at this point in time is I have fiat on the sidelines. And if we do break below $3,000, I'm probably going to put a good amount of fresh US dollars into the mix in both probably 70% Bitcoin, 30% Ethereum. That's what I'm thinking at this point in time. I think both are very appealing prices, and I think Ethereum is pretty heavily oversold at this point in time. And one thing too, I don't know if a lot of you guys saw the video today. So I put out a video today in regards to 0x and the whole like Dydx Hydra fork. I thought that situation itself was really interesting, really has a lot of kind of implications just for open source and forking in general. The video, if you guys hadn't seen it, I can just pull up a link for you. Let's see. What do we got? So this is the video, crypto forking governance, 0x and Dydx, but I thought this was pretty fun just as far as seeing what's kind of like happening within that ecosystem. The way in which Dydx basically kind of went about utilizing the 0x protocol to build their business and then getting to a sufficient mass before they moved on and forked away the code repository, I thought was almost like a little bit genius by Dydx, and kind of unfortunate for the sense of 0x, because they put in a lot of work to help them to lay the groundwork of their business and then moved on. But it goes to show the positives and negatives of open source software as well. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well, man. Always good to see you. We have reached capitulation. Front cover of Bloomberg Business Week rhymes with Bitcoin. Has crypto hit the fan? Yeah, Bloomberg has been interesting recently. They've been, at least the @crypto on Bloomberg has been loving some of the FUD. So there's been quite a bit of kind of interesting articles that they posted, and that was. If you guys didn't see this today, let me pull this bad boy up. Let's see here. You guys didn't see this. This was my Home Alone. I was watching Home Alone last night. So I had to. Home Alone is by the way, Home Alone is the best Christmas movie out there. If you think otherwise, you don't know. Home Alone is the best Christmas movie out there. But I posted this, and this took some of the headlines that I've seen recently, and I kind of enjoyed it. Let's see. Give me 1 second to actually get the audio working. My guy, Kevin McAllister.
Hey! I'm not afraid anymore! I said I'm not afraid anymore! Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore!
That's my guy, Kevin McAllister. You can't not love Home Alone. Can't not love it. And you also can't not love the FUD pictures like this. Those are my absolute favorite. So as of the time too of just recording this, I mean, we're chilling right below $3,500. We've hit resistance at the $3,600 mark. I mean, that appears, in my mind, that's kind of the one place too where looks like we had some support turned into resistance. Won't be great in my mind if we can't break through that in the near future here. Have to take a look at that number as something. I think if we do break through 36, you might see $4,000 Bitcoin. But if we fail to break through that $3,600 mark, I think it's, lower we go. Macaulay Culkin was the cutest little kid ever, so don't you dump on Macaulay Culkin, guys. He's my guy. Wet bandits always. Freeman Young, what's going on with Ethereum Classic? If the team jumped ship, why hasn't it been delisted? So, as some of you guys know, I am not the biggest. I'm not the biggest Ethereum Classic fan per se. I do think that. Here we go. So I do think that, in my mind at least, Ethereum Classic is less valuable every day post DAO fork. So I think one of Ethereum Classic's like biggest value propositions was the fact that my camera's all off. But one of Ethereum Classic's biggest value propositions was the fact that it's kind of the code is law, immutable code base, and then they have some slight differentiators outside of really focusing on proof of work, not moving to the proof of stake model, and some other components. I am not incredibly bullish personally on Ethereum Classic. I think the vast majority of projects within the Ethereum ecosystem or just within the DApp ecosystem are either being built on Ethereum or even EOS or Tron or some of the other ones out there. But if you are interested in Ethereum Classic, Anthony, his Twitter @ is PYSKELL. He is a director at ETC Cooperative. I think it was ETC Dev would shut down if I'm correct. But Anthony is a super nice guy, and if you are curious about anything Ethereum Classic related, I think he is a go-to person, and I respect the way that he conducts his business. So that is something that definitely respect the way in which he conducts his business for sure. I'm looking at my stream now too, and it says that they detected copyrighted audio and video in my stream, so they might have blocked some of that Home Alone clip. I don't know if that happened or not, but hopefully I don't get in trouble from YouTube. That would not be ideal, so we'll have to see how that pans out. But apparently playing Kevin McAllister on YouTube is not allowed. I guess we'll find out. I'm taking a look at some of these questions here. Thank you very much, Evan. I appreciate that, dude. Sherry, do you think Bitcoin has a chance to do well as long as I'm not sure what BTH and BTVS exist? I don't know if those are regards to. Don't know exactly which regards those are. You're speaking about there. Are you holding any bags, Bobby? Which ones? I mean, if you want to, you can always go to my portfolio. I updated this a couple days ago and posted a video on it. But primarily in Bitcoin and in Dai right now. So I was holding some crypto in Dai at this point in time. Also in ETH, have a few different Jin masternodes running, and then have Zcash, AST, XMR, and then Tezos as well. So those are the bags that I'm holding at this point in time for full transparency. So in case you ever want to call me a shill, which I've had people call me a shill all the time, but if you ever want to call me a shill, you can certainly do that. So, and then Sherry, do I think, going back to your question now that you clarified on that, Bobby's a low-key BTC maximalist. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a full-fledged Bitcoin maximalist because I don't think everything that isn't Bitcoin is a shitcoin. I do love Bitcoin. I do have the most confidence in Bitcoin holding its value in comparison to other crypto assets. But I also do think that there's incredibly cool shit being built on top of Ethereum. I also think that other, privacy coins like Monero and Zcash might have some really cool use cases as well. So I respect a lot of different crypto projects, and I think calling everything a scam is fairly short-sighted, and I'm not a fan of that. There are certain things that I do think are scammy, and there's certain crypto projects that I don't necessarily like, but that's my thought process in general. Matthew Peterson, what's up, dude? The interest rate of Dai on compound finance is dramatically or decreased dramatically recently. It's still pretty good, but do you see it being worthwhile in the mid to long term? So, I mean, my thought process on that is, if I'm going to, like, if I'm just going to keep my money, or if I'm waiting for the market to shake out a little bit more, what do I want to, where would I rather keep my money, in Dai or USDT or in Paxos USDC, one of those cryptocurrencies? And when I'm looking at that, I think if there is an interest, depending upon how much money you have, like I think compound finance right now, we can take a look. It was like 6%. It's interesting because it is very much it's very much variable. So we pop over to the app terms. Now it's 5%. There was one point in time, I think, when I made my video, it was like 8%. Went all the way up to like 20% at one point in time. Now it's down to 5.7%, which is pretty good. If Dai doesn't blow up and you just want to hold your crypto, you just want to hold assets in a portfolio that might return somewhat of a ROI, it's pretty cool. I would, to be pretty frank, like I have a good amount of US dollars in a savings account. I would consider moving that to Dai and keeping that in compound finance if I wasn't concerned about potentially either the smart contracts blowing up or something like that. Like, all it takes is one smart contract error, like we saw with the parity multi-sig wallet hack, which locked up like $90 million of Ethereum. So that would be my biggest concern with this. I'm willing to have, whether it's a few $1,000s in Dai locked up, not necessarily locked up because you can remove it at any point in time, but I'm willing to have a few $1,000s in Dai hanging out on the platform. But I would consider taking, a lot more money that I have sitting on the sidelines just for like life savings, and moving it to this. But my worry would be like, one bug in Ethereum and boom, either, Ethereum like blows up, Dai blows up, loses peg to zero, compound finance, something bad happens. There's a lot of variable factors, and it's not like this is an FDIC insured platform or anything like that. So going back to it, Sheridu, I think Bitcoin can be valuable even though there's Bitcoin Cash or BTC ABC or B whatever. What's the Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin Cash SV? Do I think Bitcoin can still be valuable? Yes, I do. I think that Bitcoin Cash was potentially a legitimate competitor to Bitcoin last year when. And I didn't necessarily think so. I never traded Bitcoin Cash. I wasn't a fan of how they conducted themselves or the organizations conducted themselves. But I think that the fact that Bitcoin Cash, which was already a somewhat minority of the crypto community, again split off into two, it just kind of took whatever little momentum that they had, which they didn't have much. I mean, if we where's BCH to BTC? Oh no, that's. So if we're on GDAX, I mean, where are we got now? It's not, Bitcoin Cash has not necessarily held its value. You go back to when it was listed on Coinbase in March, where are we right now? Bitcoin Cash is down about 80% against Bitcoin, and that's after Bitcoin is down about 70, 80%. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the market has spoken and that Bitcoin Cash is not necessarily competition for Bitcoin. And I also think that it's fairly clear that the fact that Bitcoin Cash has splintered their already weakened community into two is not helpful for Bitcoin Cash. You can see up here, it's Bitcoin Cash ABC. Like, nobody wants to go on Coinbase and be like, anywhere and go, do I want to go on to buy BCH ABC or BCH SV? Like, it's ridiculous. Proper Goal, what's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. Should shave like Wolverine, it would look class. I don't know if I could pull off a Wolverine. I don't know. I don't think I can really pull off this in general, but I'm going to try and grow it out till New Year's to see what I look like and if I look like a total clown or not. Who knows? But I'm having fun growing out my shitty little bear market beard and enjoying it. So Morello, Bcash, and Satoshi's vision is the manifestation of two BTC billionaires who couldn't have their way with Bitcoin and are throwing a tantrum. They will disappear in time. It's definitely possible. One thing that was kind of funny was I did not realize Calvin Ayre was the former CEO of Bodog, which was back in the day when I was probably shouldn't have been betting a little bit on, not a lot, but like, $20 here and there, $100 here and there on sports. Bodog was the gaming site back in the day. I had no idea that's where Calvin Ayre made his millions, or I don't know if it's billions, millions, billions on Bodog. Pretty funny to read about. Crypto futures, what is DAI? It's not die as in like literally kill something or dead. DAI is, go here, it's Coinigy. I can type. DAI is a stable coin, but it's a different stable coin than other cryptocurrencies or other stable coins. So there are kind of three different types of, I would say there's essentially three different types of stable coins, or primarily really right now, two different types of stable coins. Basis was going to be another type of stable coin. Basis shut down and closed shop. Basis was going to be like an algorithmic stable coin that had different shares, and depending upon the supply and demand of whether or not it was at one or above one, under one, there would be essentially an algorithm that would help maintain the peg, and they would increase the supply and demand of a secondary asset at a very high level. Now, there are really two different types of stablecoins, in my opinion. There are asset-backed stablecoins. So you have things like Tether, which is theoretically supposed to have $1 for every Tether in existence. And that's one of the things that a lot of people point to as a negative. Kevin Clemens, okay, unsub. Sure, Kevin, have a good one, homie. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, baby. But so there are two different types of stablecoins. You have asset-backed or kind of fiat-backed stablecoins like Tether, which has a lack of trust, but now you have a bunch of new entrants. You have Paxos, which is from Paxos. It's a one-to-one stablecoin. You have USDC, which is from Circle, and the center kind of conglomerate there. And then you also have what's the other one? GUSD, Gemini's dollar. And then there's also Maker. Maker is running DAI. And basically what DAI is it's a stable coin that allows for a system of essentially collateralized. It requires people to put Ethereum up and collateralize or over collateralize to receive DAI. And it has actually been relatively stable in terms of Ethereum falling from well over $1,000 to where it's at right now. So DAI is pretty interesting in the fact that it has nothing to do with the US dollar, but it has remained relatively stable in comparison to that. Or it's kind of pegged to the US dollar, but there's no dollars backing it. It's essentially backed by over collateralized Ethereum loans that might be liquidated, might not be, but it's one of the cool things, at least in my mind, about DAI as a whole is that this is the most decentralized stable coin out there. USDT has kind of questionable, Tether has questionable backgrounds. Is it related to Bitfinex? How related is it to Bitfinex? You have USDC, GUSD, TUSD, Paxos. Those are all very regulated stable coins. It might require KYC to buy those. Maker does not require KYC to acquire it. And it is, I say, the most decentralized, but also probably the highest risk stablecoin out there. Thank you very much for that super chat, Sherry and Evian. I'm not sure if you had any specific questions, but I appreciate those super chats as well. Super kind of you, dude. Thank you for those. And so what is PAX? PAX is, if you go here, lost. So PAX is Paxos standard token. It is from I believe the Paxos exchange, or ItBit. They're in a regulated exchange based out of New York. So it has one Paxos equals $1. And then they go through this whole process: trusted, stable, fast, audited, supported, yada, yada, yada. Reynaldo, thank you very much for that super chat. Super kind of you. Alt offer promise same things that Bitcoin will have in 2 years easy. LTC and XMR will have no point of existing, and that's just to name two obvious ones. So that's an interesting point. Definitely an interesting point. I will bring up a couple different things. So in the case of Litecoin, I do think that Litecoin is less useful than something like Monero is. I think that the fact that Monero has privacy by default, and to a lesser extent Zcash, but I do think that the fact that Monero has privacy by default does have a nice moat around what potentially Bitcoin can offer. Obviously, there's a number of different components around how Monero is mined, the supply schedule, the inflation rates, things like that differentiate, for better or for worse, Monero from Bitcoin. Litecoin on the other end of the house, is, I think, less interesting to me in the long run, because the biggest benefit is shorter block times, faster transaction fees, and eventually Bitcoin will be able to scale. Theoretically, should be able to scale to that, whether that's through the combination of on-chain transactions, as well as Lightning Network implementation and advanced adoption, things like that. I do think that there is enough differentiation to allow for something like Bitcoin to exist, as well as for Monero to exist. I think that they can coexist, essentially, is what I'm saying. I think that Litecoin's value is much less so. I think Litecoin was cool to use when the blocks were super saturated on the Bitcoin network, when we saw November, December, January timeframes of incredible retail adoption, a ton of people using the network, and super crowded blocks. But now Litecoin is, I don't want to say Litecoin is useless, but it's redundant in nature to what Bitcoin can provide, although it's just a slightly faster version, at least in my opinion. Morel brings up a good point. XMR's default privacy comes at a cost, though. It's hard to audit the chain. This is why Bitcoin is superior. I think Monero and Bitcoin do and will continue to serve different use cases, in my opinion. I think Monero probably has a good use case for dark web transactions and things where people, we don't need people to understand, you don't want people to know what you're doing on Monero. On Bitcoin, you can be conducting very legitimate business. You can simply be holding that cryptocurrency to hang on for the long run, whatever it might be. I do think that they serve separate use cases. Bobby, any conferences or events you'll be going to soon? Not at this point in time. No big events. I'm looking into. What about atomic swaps on the Lightning Network? So I have a Lightning node that's running. I have, I think, about 1 to 2 Bitcoin throughput on that, 1 to 2 Bitcoin capacity on that Lightning node. It's been fun to run that. One thing, I was talking to one of our developers at AirSwap. She actually set up, I don't remember the service. She was literally talking to me before I left work today to do this live stream, but she was talking that I believe there is a website that is now offering Rinkeby testnet ETH for $10 of mainnet Bitcoin, and trying to do cross-chain compatibility. There's also the construct now of wrapped BTC or wrapped Bitcoin, which allows Bitcoin to essentially move into the Ethereum ecosystem if you wanted to trade that on a DEX or involve Bitcoin further. So there are some really interesting things about Bitcoin that are being developed that I like quite a bit. Proper Gall, we need some fun, and shaving like Wolverine would help crypto. I think probably the most fun thing I'm going to do in the near future is read a mean tweet / YouTube comments. and have a little bit of fun with that. I think there's a lot of very, very mean YouTube comments that I get that, you know, deserve for me to poke back a little bit. So I think I'll go ahead and do that. I'll make a video out of it. Sit in front of my Christmas tree, make it very holiday, you know, very festive. People are gonna love it. You're gonna love it. But Wolverine beard, I don't know how popular that would make me with the opposite sex, so we'll see. Chris Nguyen, thoughts on Apollo currency APL? I'm not exactly sure what APL is. Let me look on the other screen. I have no idea what Apollo currency is. That's an $8 million market cap, though. Where's it traded? Bitmart, Coinbase, Dydx. I don't even know where, you know, I don't know anything about Bitmart. It's $209 million. What are these exchanges? Shit if I know. I do not know about Apollo currency. Taking a look at some more of these questions. Some of these comments are hilarious. Yes, welcome to my life, brother. Welcome to my life. Bobby, at what price will I FOMO into XRP? I don't think I'm gonna FOMO into XRP. That's just my. Where's our good friends over at XRP? Shout out XRP the Standard, doing it big as always. Strongest army on Twitter, strongest army out there. XRP bottomed out pretty nicely in September, though. It's held up against Bitcoin fairly nice. I won't sit here and say that, but a lot of you guys know I'm not a huge XRP fan. I don't hate XRP. I hate the XRP Twitter bot shills. That's what I hate. You can buy XRP. You can love XRP. There's a few guys on Twitter that are awesome. Vinny, if you're listening, my guy Vinny is great. Enjoy his commentary always. I just don't see value accrual in XRP. I think Ripple might be building cool tech. I think that perhaps they might be signing on partnerships, but until I see legitimate use and legitimate stability in XRP, I really don't think that value should and or will accrue in XRP. I also do think that there is a very legit. I don't actually. You know what? I don't want to say a very legitimate risk, but I do think that there is a strong possibility that XRP could be deemed a security by regulators. And I do not necessarily think that regulators would directly go after XRP because they have so much money in the bank and they don't want to. Right now, at least in the United States, the SEC has gone after easy must-win cases. Or not necessarily must-win cases, but they've gone after cases in which they know they can win. They went after Paragon Coin, which had the game sitting on Facebook, talking about invest in this ICO. They went after just like ICOs that were saying, hey, this is for profit, stupid companies, etc. Also companies that probably didn't have a lot of money in the bank to afford a long drawn out legal battle with the SEC if they wanted to. Ripple, on the other hand, if the SEC were to go after Ripple for the issuance of XRP, of which Ripple says it was a gift, Todd. It's a gift, Todd. Of which Ripple said it was a gift. Then Ripple has the money in the bank to sustain a long drawn out legal battle with the SEC that they could easily win. They have a star-studded team. They have Ben Lawsky on staff who on the board who drafted the BIT license, which is the most onerous piece of regulation in the crypto landscape, which I'm not a fan of. I think a lot of people aren't a fan of the BIT license. It really prohibits, if you are in New York, you can basically thank Ben Lawsky for having a lot of crypto companies not operate in New York. And He is on the board of Ripple. So I think that there is, there's a legitimate chance that XRP could be deemed a security, but I also don't think that the SEC necessarily wants to pick a fight that they potentially can't win, or a very expensive fight. So yeah, that's just my thought process in general. I know a lot of people are going to comment on this and be like, but Ripple have been working with regulators for years, literally. Well, then why hasn't the SEC come out and said XRP is not a security? The SEC and the CFTC came out and said Bitcoin wasn't a security. Part of the SEC, not kind of a full statement, but part of the SEC came out and said Ethereum is not a security. So the second to third largest crypto asset out there, and the one potentially the only one right now, that the largest cryptocurrency that has not been deemed not a security officially, is XRP. So that does carry inherent risk. Whether or not you want to admit that, I mean, if XRP is deemed a security, I'm sure many of the ICO, basically all the ICOs are securities, et cetera, but something you do want to consider. I'll become shitcoin Bobby once XRP takes number one. Who knows? Maybe. It's possible. Taking a look at some more of these questions. So Ben Zemla, I admit there's a risk, but it doesn't seem likely to me. I don't necessarily know if it's 50-50, but you could very easily make the argument that XRP is a security, in my opinion. You could very easily make that argument that XRP is a security. However, does the SEC want to go after a company with billions of dollars, most likely in the bank, or at the very least hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank, that could afford the best lawyers in the United States, in the world, and make a very long, drawn-out process? You don't know. So, something to consider. Could you prevent me from wasting 10 euros every 10 minutes and possibly shave like Wolverine? I don't know, man. This is bear market beard. It's not coming off until we see $10,000 Bitcoin. So I'm gonna be when I'm 70 years old and I'm gonna look like Santa Claus, because my beard's I'm gonna go from being a ginger to having gray hair at that point in time. Thoughts on Fortnite? I've never played Fortnite. Too old for that shit. That's a good question, Mastron. If one coin was to overtake Bitcoin, what's your money on? Let me hear that in the comments from you guys. I'm curious to what you say before I influence your decision in general. If one coin were to overtake Bitcoin, what would you put your money on? Feathercoin. XRP, Tron, Zcash, Fedcoin. Some coin that does not exist yet. XRP, EOS, XRP. Cardano, Dash, Cardano, ETH, Monero. I'm serious. Feathercoin. Yep. I'll exit the market. XRP. Bitconnect. Facebook coin. Yeah, Bobby coin. You guys are missing out on Buffalo Chicken coin. I don't see any Buffalo Chicken coin. That's sad. That's very, very sad. That's a fantastic question, and to be very honest, I don't know. There is a strange world where I could see XRP's market cap somehow going nuts. I wouldn't count that out of the realm of possibility. There was a point in time where Ethereum was very much possible to overtake Bitcoin. I do think if Ethereum scales, like if Ethereum actually hits this Ethereum 2.0, this serenity that Vitalik has talked about. I was at DevCon, sat in on Vitalik's presentation. If Ethereum actually scales, there is really an interesting, I wouldn't say an argument to be made. If Ethereum scales and figures out their distribution schedule or their kind of distribution inflation schedule, maybe they have a shot at overtaking Bitcoin. I wouldn't bet on anything overtaking Bitcoin for the time being, although, I say that now as Bitcoin is number one, but Bitcoin is still my highest position. Bitcoin is still my highest position, will continue to be so. XRP has Morel. XRP has no chance. Your bags are very heavy, clearly. If you've watched any of these videos, brother, you know I have never owned XRP ever. So I don't think I actually have heavy bags. But if you want to say that, go for it. Tell me I have I absolutely love when people call me. Oh, thank you, Morel. Sorry about that. But regardless, that point. Somebody called me a shill today in the 0x video where I talked about 0x and forking and governance, and called me a shill because I talked about 0x. I don't own any 0x token. I own 0. And I didn't say buy, I didn't say sell, I didn't say do anything. But people are still like shill, which is pretty funny. AMD. Sorry again, Morel. 00x. Hey, that's what I'm. Shout out Manitha. Comment section lit right now. ICX, idiots now. 1.9k bottom, calling it. If where's Bitcoin at right now? Oh, pretty crazy that Bitcoin hasn't tanked while I've been on live. You haven't lost money if you've been on live, which is a very different very different scenario. Coinbase enabled crypto to crypto trading on Coinbase Consumer now. Yeah, we could surely pick. Well, let's go over to. Actually, we'll pop over here. Coinbase. Actually, speaking of XRP, this is my favorite thing ever. This is my favorite thing ever. So right here, let's go. This is gonna make me smile so fucking much. Starting today, you can convert one crypto to another on Coinbase. Conversions are available between Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, 0x, or Bitcoin Cash. Day 8 of 12 days of Coinbase, yada yada yada. Hey, let's get to it. XRP, add it. Can I convert your 32 ranked 0x to number 2 rated XRP? Sounds great, but I would like the ability to convert all of these into XRP. Time to add XRP. XRP. Where are XRP and EOS? How do I convert my crypto to XRP? Are USD XRP conversions supported? Where can I convert my dollars to XRP? Without XRP, we'll lose against WireX. Nice feature. I'm waiting for XRP to be announced. XRP. Add XRP. All right, this is cool, but it ain't XRP. Unbelievable. Nobody wants these cryptos. We want XRP. We need to convert all assets to XRP. We need a convert all assets to XRP button. Thanks. When XRP. Add XRP. XRP better. Jesus, fucking hell. Holy hell. You got XRP Army. Shout out to you guys. It is phenomenal. It is incredible. There is nobody more determined on the planet than XRP Army when it comes to Coinbase tweets. And God bless the Coinbase social media manager that has to read that shit. Holy hell. Oh man, I love the world. It's the best. It's the best. And guys, on that note, I am hungry. I have not eaten dinner yet. BTC is a cult. Yes, Ben. After reading all of that, we can look at this and accurately determine that of all the cults of the world, Bitcoin is the cult. It's Bitcoin. It was Bitcoin. But guys, gonna take a little breather here, have another beer. Alexa, please stop. Alexa just decided to play jazz music. I don't know why. But gonna head out and get myself some dinner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this crypto happy hour. As always, it was a lot of fun with you guys. Hope you have a great day, great night. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Would love for you guys to hit that thumbs up, like button. Helps get this video out to as many people as possible. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.